I, ca- I can't hear her. Am I the only one?
I just sent her a message.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was wondering too, am I the only one? Yeah.
You never know if your computer's messing up that day or not.
Right.
How about now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I was trying a new USB port because I had rearranged my computer a little bit this morning, and apparently it did not like that port and was not picking up my voice. So appreciate it.
Say hi.
Oh. Hello. Yeah, so hello again, now that you can all hear me. Welcome to the faculty-led new program director interest meeting. See some familiar faces and some new faces, so I'm excited to make your acquaintance today. We are recording this session just so that we can share it out with other faculty who weren't able to join us. If you have any concerns about that, just let me know in a private chat and we can stop recording at any time. But I did want to start off just by introductions, since y'all are each other's best resources, really, and I'm here to help support the great ideas and the great work that you all come up with. So I wanted to just go around and introduce ourselves really quickly, your name, your department, what program either you're currently involved with or one that you're thinking of leading. Yes, so I don't know if we want to start with the IPC crew, because I know I'm here. Heidi Bretz, she, her pronouns, and I am the Assistant Director for Study Abroad and Exchanges, working as the Faculty-Led Programs Coordinator and also as the Fellowships Advisor for our campus. Maria, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I would love to go next. Hi, everyone. I'm Maria, and I am the new Associate Provost for International Programs here upon Nell Pine's retirement. And I'm here just to say thank you for leading programs. For those of you who have led programs before, thank you for being interested in developing programs like this. I know they are a lot of work. I know there's a lot of pieces that go into doing this. I know it's so much work to actually implement it and, you know, have students under your wing and being responsible for them while you're abroad. So, you know, I understand and I appreciate all the work that goes in there. And so I'm just so thankful that you're interested, even after leading one, you know, kind of repeating for those of you who are repeating them. Like Heidi said, we're here to support you and, you know, in whatever ways, but again, you know, having this conversation between all of you and people who have done them before and the kind of, you know, experts in this area would be great for you to connect with. And the other thing I would like to say is that we will be holding some other conversations together this semester with faculty who have led programs before to kind of get some feedback. We're always trying to improve our processes, the support that we offer to you. So as you are listening to you know, your peers and what we do and how we're supporting you so far, and you have other ideas and other needs, we would love to hear them. We may not be able to do everything that you want us to do. I'll be upfront, but we will do our best to address as much as we can. So again, thank you so much for being here today. And I look forward to getting to know you more as we go through this process.
Thank you, Maria. And just to kind of facilitate the rest of our introductions, I'm just going to go down my list of participants and just call out names. So be prepared for me to call on you. So the first one on my list is Brian McLean. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure, unlucky or lucky straw, I don't know. But hey everyone, I'm Brian McLean. I'm assistant professor in the biology department and interested in taking students out and basically giving them experience thinking about wildlife and specifically mammals, which is what I studied, mammalian biology, but also how those intersect with cultural issues and other potential issues of disease and wildlife disease and zoonotic pathogens. Heidi, we know each other because we started a conversation about working on a study abroad based in South Africa. And that's kind of gotten paused in a big way from from COVID and stuff, but I'm basically back to maybe touch base with everyone about how COVID is impacting people's programs now and in the near term. And also to maybe think about more regional programs as well, regional to us here. So.
Thank you. And the next is Gwen Honeycutt on my list.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm Gwen Honeycutt from the Department of Sociology. Hope you don't mind that my camera's off. I'm multitasking, chopping vegetables for dinner while I'm
Ooh.
participating.
That sounds great. What are you making?
I'm eating enchiladas and gallo pinto, Costa Rican beans and rice.
Yum.
I have long been interested in leading study abroad and was excited to see this because I'm kind of at a point in my career where I would have the time and space to work on developing ideas. I'm preparing a new course right now, just in its early stages, called Societies at Peace. And we're looking at the dynamics of nonviolence in social process and institutions and cultural variations. And it's very much a global inquiry and as well as a historical inquiry. And I'm just exploring what I might be able to do with this course, and I'm excited about what I'm going to learn here today. So thank you.
Sure, thanks for joining us. All right, next is Hannah Graneman is on my list.
That's right. Hi, I am an assistant professor and director of the Arts Administration program. And so we are a pretty new program. And so this is part of just building out and having a longer history. There's just tons of opportunity that we could go around the world and visit wonderful arts institutions and talk to the people who run them and lead them. So, yeah, thanks for doing this.
Thank you. All right, and we have Hawan Girma.
Hello, everyone. I am Hewan Gurma. I am an assistant professor in the African American and African Diaspora Studies. I am also one of the co-directors and co-founders of the Ethiopian and East African Studies project. And as part of this project, together with Rebecca, we are thinking of leading a summer either research or summer teaching something for 2022, I guess. And it's really exciting to think about travel, especially when we're all cooped up in our offices and homes. So we're here to kind of learn about the process and what we need to do and starting early.
Wonderful, welcome. And Jamie Anderson.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I was late. I was advising a student and coming off of that. I'm excited to be thinking about study abroad. I've been involved with IPC for 20 years since I came to UNCG, but I hadn't really saw a spot. I think like Gwen, I hadn't saw a spot where I could think about being involved with a faculty-led program myself, putting others together. And I work on, I teach all our Asian history classes that work on China and Vietnam. And so there are some things that I'm interested in possibly being involved with students abroad on a program. But there are a lot of logistical issues, and currently everything else is on hold. So I was just sort of dreaming ahead, and I thought, well, this is a chance to start getting things in order for possible projects.
Thank you.
Which is your department?
Oh, I'm sorry, the history department.
Thank you.
All right, next is Melanie Stadler.
Hey, I'm Melanie. I am not faculty. I'm actually a PhD student in the biology department, but I will be taking over the biology and conservation of sea turtles class, which takes a trip every other spring. So we're scheduled to go again in 2022 to Costa Rica. And that's been a course that's been running forever, but Ann Summers is now retired. So I'm going to be taking that course over for her. My background, my master's degree, my research background is in turtles and sea turtles. So I'm looking forward to that and working with IPC.
Awesome, thank you. And last but certainly not least, Becky Muich.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Becky. I am one of the assistant deans in the Honors College. And I have been lucky enough to already lead a program with a summer program to Rome through with IPC over the summer, and have had a fantastic experience working with IPC. So I can't say enough how great it is that you're thinking about starting early. So I was lucky enough to be a co-director in 2019, and we were on our way to making our big plans for 2021 when, 2021 happened and that. So we're now planning ahead. But I'm really happy to be here with Hewan and thinking about a new trip to a new continent and a new program. It's really exciting. So thank you so much, Heidi and Maria, for hosting this.
Wonderful. Thank you all. And hopefully you all will feel free to ask questions through the session. Like I said, I have a slideshow, but this is pretty interactive. So if we have questions as we go along, I'm happy to answer those. And we're lucky to have Maria staying with us for the presentation, I believe, the whole time, Maria.
So I have another meeting.
okay.
I'll jump out a few minutes before you guys are done. So
Okay.
I apologize about that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so if you have any questions for Maria, make sure to ask them early. But we will go through kind of what the process typically looks like here at UNCG. Of course, we'll talk a little bit about COVID and kind of the impacts that we've been seeing there and what some other possibilities might be for future travel, or even kind of reimagining what study abroad, especially faculty-led programs, might look like a little bit. And then we will just kind of cover how to get started with actually applying for one of these programs. So let me go ahead and grab my PowerPoint to get that started. Find the button. There we go. Okay. Lost the button. All right, can everyone see my screen? Awesome. So welcome to the new faculty-led program director interest meeting. So who we are, so Maria introduced herself. She is our brand new well, I guess 6 months now, Associate Provost for International Programs. And our team also consists of Denise Bellamy, who is the Senior Director of the International Programs Center, and then also serves as the Director of Study Abroad and Exchanges. I'm sure many of you have worked with her over the years. And then Tom Martinick, who is our Associate Director, who helps to support me and Denise and Maria. We all kind of support each other in our work, and he has a lot of expertise as well with the exchange partners that we work with on the program. Okay, and then also there is me. So I'm Heidi Bretz, again, she, her pronouns, Assistant Director for Study Abroad and Exchanges. I'll be the person you're working face-to-face with most often, and I help with a lot of the logistical arrangements for your programs and serving as general support. All right, so funding support, and this would be one where if you have any questions, Maria is happy to help. We do have a certain number of awards that are available through our office to help support you in developing not only faculty-led programs, but also different courses or international global initiatives. So we do have the Kohler Grant, which funds projects. It can fund institutional linkages. There are several different categories of funding for that, but if you have exploratory trips you're doing or institutional linkages you're building, that's something that you can reach out to our office about and talk with us about funding opportunities there. If you are presenting at a conference related to an international conference that's related to your research, we do also have funds potentially available through the International Travel Fund, which can help to defer some of those or offset some of those costs of traveling internationally when that is possible. And then new this year is the Virtual Global Collaborative Course Development Award. So that's for folks who are looking to incorporate global components into their courses virtually. I don't know how many of you have heard of COIL, which is Collaborative Online International Learning, but that is where basically you would be working with students in Greensboro and also maybe around the world in a particular location or from several locations, and really looking to facilitate deep learning and engagement in an global virtual environment. So if you're interested in developing courses that incorporate that type of component, contact our office. We do have funding available, $1,000 for either a brand new course or a modification of a series of courses, or $500 for modifying an existing course. I'm going to pause here. Does anyone have any questions about funding, or Maria, anything to add?
The only thing I will say, we do have deadlines for the virtual global collaborative course. We had 2 deadlines, one passed in January and the other one is coming up March 16th. I'd be happy to chat with any of you. We're there to support you find that partner in another country. If you don't have connections with faculty at other universities, we have over 100 partnerships, active partnerships, where we can try and connect you with another faculty that teaches something similar that you do, so you can have those conversations and start planning for the fall of 21 or spring 22 or further.
Wonderful, thank you. All right. So first off, just a little bit about the process and kind of the overview of the philosophy of developing a faculty-led program. So we do like to get folks together rather early in the process, and traditionally that has taken the form of an in-person meeting. We'll see what happens as we move forward. But basically a meeting with you, your department chair, and the team at the International Program Center. And that's to get everybody on the same page for what your ideas are, for kind of any creative brainstorming we can do around maybe incorporating intercultural pieces or interdisciplinary pieces, or other ways to kind of enhance the program offerings that we're putting together for our students that y'all faculty are helping to create and driving the creation of. And that can happen a little bit after we start talking, but that's one of the kind of official first meetings that we'll want to have with you and our office, just to kind of get everybody on the same page. We do have a cost-effective study abroad philosophy. At UNCG, we really strive to make these experiences affordable and accessible to all students. For our semester study abroad options, students are actually paying the same tuition and fees. So we always like to say, if you can afford to study at UNCG, you can afford to study abroad. And we really want to help make that true. So with our kind of general costing for these faculty-led programs, for a summer program, they're usually between anywhere from, I think, 10 to 12 days is our shortest, all the way up to 6 to 8 weeks. It really depends on the program. But usually we find kind of our sweet spot is about 25 days abroad, around $3,800, $3,900 and 6 credits. So really what we're doing is looking at kind of a range between $2,000 and $5,000 per program, which tends to be a good range in terms of cost for most of our students. And we do, in addition to that, recommend having programs that are over 21 days, even though you would think, oh, a shorter program might be more cost effective for students. That 21 days is a magic number, because a lot of our students actually are eligible for a scholarship called the Gilman Scholarship, and they only fund programs that are over 21 days long. So that's a way that you can help students to be set up for other types of funding. We do have faculty guidelines that we supply to you about how to market your program, when to market your program, some different guidelines about development. And with our programs, we have kind of that typical structure that we see that sets students up for success. So about 4 weeks abroad, 6 credits, and between $2,000 and $5,000. So some things to keep in mind is these programs are departmental initiatives. So you have IPC's full support in terms of helping you to put together budgets, to plan programs, to look at intercultural pieces, but the program itself is a departmental program. So the funding is actually managed through the department. So another great person to have on your side, in addition to your department chair, is going to be your departmental administrator, whoever handles your budgets. And they'll be your partner, as well as IPC will, to help to make payments, arrange lodging, things like that. And then the study abroad committee is the committee that we have that helps to ensure that our study abroad programs are of good quality, and to ask any questions or point out any places where maybe there's a risk management concern, but they basically make sure that our programs are a good quality that we're putting forward to students, and that they don't compete too much. So we try not to have like 15 programs heading to Italy. That can sometimes be hard in the summers, but we really want to make sure that our programs are diverse offerings as well. So the study abroad committee reviews all the proposals, the subcommittee does, and gives feedback and approval on those. And there are some locations, just to note, that UNCG does not consider conducive to student health and safety. So we will, of course, point that out if you are planning to travel somewhere that looks to be like it would fall into that category. All right. So there are basically two types of program models that we see here at UNCG. So one is what we call our on-model program, which have are basically an on-campus course that have components that will be taken abroad. So that most often manifests as a spring break program within a full spring semester class. So those programs, again, tend to be shorter, usually during winter break or spring break, and those do charge tuition and fees in addition to the program fee. Faculty get FTEs. The credits are included in the credits that students would be paying for. So if they're taking between 12 and 18 as an undergrad, it would be included, the tuition portion, in that particular cost of attending UNCG. For the off model, that's actually the majority of our study abroad courses. Those are the ones that happen during the summer, and they're unique because they actually do not charge UNCG tuition. We help you when you're building your budget, putting your budget together to build in the cost of instruction, your per diem, your housing, your flights, and that's the cost of instruction to students, and then whatever costs make up that total program cost. So students only pay the program cost. They are able to use financial aid towards that as long as they're earning at least 6 credit hours over the summer, but there are no FTEs for faculty, and it isn't considered tuition for that purpose. Does that make sense? Okay, seeing some head nods, that's a good thing. So just to give you an example of some programs that we have offered here in the past. Okay, what is FTE? Is full-time equivalence, I think, is the... Basically, it doesn't count towards your full load. So it wouldn't count towards your load for that particular semester. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. All right, so some examples of programs that we've seen for our on-model programs that happen during the spring and the winter. We've seen the MBA program has one that runs pretty often. That's 3 credit hours. They travel over spring break to either Prague or Germany. They switch off from year to year. And usually that's about $2,300 plus the tuition. Excuse me. And then one of our more cost-effective programs is actually Experiencing Business in Belgium. And that is 3 credit hours, and it's part of an on-campus course. So the students are meeting throughout the entire semester, and they're actually working with Belgian students for the entire time that they are putting together their course, and they're working on projects together. And the UNCG students go to Belgium in our spring break, and then the Belgian students usually come here for their spring break. So it's a very cool collaborative course. They stay in each other's houses, usually, not this year. They stay in each other's houses and really form close relationships, which is one of the reasons that that program in particular is one of our most cost effective, is because students are sharing housing. They're not booking hotels or lodgings like most traditional courses do. And that course has actually gone virtual this year. So they are testing out what that course looks like with doing it in that kind of COIL global virtual collaboration mode. So we'll let you know how that goes. And then winter, we do have some programs that do travel in winter. It is considered technically part of the spring term. So we've had students who have gone abroad then. For example, the field investigation of human environment interaction in insular Southeast Asia, which went over to, I believe they went to Cambodia and Thailand for a few weeks in December. And that was about $22.50. And that would, again, have the tuition in addition to that. And then for our summer programs, Summer in Spain is one that has run several times. That is 6 credit hours, usually about 5 to 6 weeks, and about $3,800 is the typical price. The field school in Kea, $4,300, again, about 6 to 8 weeks. UNCG in Rome, of course, we have one of our directors here, 6 credit hours and about a month for 4,000. So that's kind of what our offerings tend to look like. As you can see, they all kind of go around that 25 days, $3,000 to $5,000, and 6 credit hours for the summer. All right, so best practices when it comes to developing these programs. So there is quite a bit of lead time. There are a lot of moving pieces to go into these programs, lots of things to plan, lots of people to contact. So we do recommend an 18-month lead time for program development. So for our summer programs, for example, for summer 2022, our deadline is actually going to be March 15th of this year. So that will give you time to get your program approved by the committee and answer any questions that they have remaining, have the summer to prepare, and then be ready to hit the ground running for recruitment next fall. So that's why we have such an early program development timeline for new programs. Once you've run your program once and you have some of the pieces nailed down, then each year after that, you would renew for a summer program on September 1st for the following summer. For spring, it's the same kind of adjustment. It would just be September 1st for a new program of the next year, and then April 1st is our renewal date. 6 credits, we do for the summer program, 6 credits, and we do recommend offering that in the first half of the summer. The reason for that is because if students are using financial aid and for any reason they do poorly in a class or the program somehow, something happens, anything can happen, COVID happens, then they would still have an opportunity to fulfill their 6 credit requirement for them to still receive their financial aid for summer. So that kind of sets them up well to be able to take more classes if the need should arise. We do recommend having diverse course offerings for broader student appeal. Many of our courses that we do find being most successful are very interdisciplinary, that may fulfill gen ed requirements if that's something your course does. And basically, the more interdisciplinary your course, the more recruitment pools you have to draw from as well. 4 weeks minimum for those summer programs. And again, that's for external funding, that Gilman Scholarship. And if it's 28 days or more in the past, that's been something that IPC has been able to support as well with some funding. And this is very important to faculty directors or to program directors. So this can take a couple of different forms. So you can either have 2 faculty, you can have a faculty and administrator, a faculty and a graduate student, a faculty and someone who's a local provider or works at a local university. Basically, we just want to make sure that there are 2 leaders so that if anything should happen while you are on your program, say one of your students twists their ankle and has to go to the doctor, that way you have someone that you can send with that student and someone to stay with the group. We never want to leave students alone when they are abroad. And this also goes for you all as well. If you're not feeling good one day, you'll have someone who can take the group around and it doesn't disrupt program activities. So that's very much a health and safety thing. And then a non-state trust account. So as I said, these program budgets are departmentally managed. So we'll help you to find the paperwork and set up your non-state trust account, which is where all your funds go. We're really excited because as of December, we have switched the way that we are doing or are formatting those non-state trust accounts to make it so that you'll set the budget kind of depending on how many students you have and what your program cost is. You'll set a budget in probably around this time next year or whenever you would run your program early in the spring. And you'll actually be able to make payments towards your program. And then when the student funds come in, then they will balance against your account so that you can make prepayments on your program, because a lot of things do need to happen a couple months in advance, like housing and tickets and all of that. So you'll have the ability to do that. And then finally, well, not finally, second to finally, the airfare, we do suggest keeping that separate from the program cost for students. And there are a couple reasons for that. One, if a student has a relative or some sort of airline perk, then they'll be able to use that to negotiate the cost. If they're thinking of visiting friends or family beforehand or staying late after the program, that gives them flexibility. And most ideally, it doesn't put you on the line for having booked 15 tickets and then Susie Q isn't able to travel, and then you have to pay for her ticket even though she's not coming. So we do have students purchase their airfare independently. Your airfare, on the other hand, is worked into the program budget. And then very, very important is not to market the program until it is approved. So that means it's been through our office, we've looked at it, the study abroad subcommittee has looked at it, and we've said that you're good to go. And that is because any type of material, printed material, emails, any of that, if there were to be concerns later on, say you said, oh, we're going to go to South Africa and we're going to go shark cage diving, and we're going to jump off a volcano and it's going to be awesome. It's going to cost $10. And then later any of those details change, then that actually, that document is seen as a contract in a court of law. So we want to make sure that we've had a chance to look at it, that all the details are accurate, and also that our disclaimer is included on every piece of paper basically that you would give students. And that's just acknowledging that UNCG reserves the right to cancel or alter the program format or to change costs in case of conditions beyond its control. See COVID. So that's why we have those disclaimers on there to protect you all as well. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and pause. Are there any questions? And let me know if I'm talking too fast as well.
I didn't quite follow the off model. Could you review that?
Yes.
Sorry.
So yeah, I know, and this is one of the things that's a little bit confusing to kind of explain. But the on model basically is any program that would take place during the fall or the spring semester, if you want to think about it that way, and that charges tuition for the course. So if you have a fall break program, if you have a winter break, if you have a spring break, that's an on-model course where it's part of an on-campus course and it assesses tuition and fees. For off-model, it's not part of an on-campus course. It takes place, if not entirely, mostly abroad, and it doesn't charge tuition. It would just be the program fee that you've built out.
So do they earn, but they earn credit?
Yes. They do earn credit for both kinds, and they are UNCG credits. So just like they were taking the class on campus, it'll show up on their degree works. None of the transfer credit that we do with our other kinds of study abroad.
But it's just not called tuition.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so instead of like having
obscure reason.
Well, there are many reasons. But basically, this is a way that like the program cost is standardized for students. So students pay the program fee that includes the cost of instruction. And that actually makes these programs a lot more accessible for students who are out of state, or even some students that are international students will participate from time to time. They tend to like these shorter programs, and it's one price for all students. So that can be a really good perk.
As long as they earn credit and they earn the credit, that's the big thing. Okay, great. Thank you for that explanation. Yeah,
you're welcome. Then Jamie, you had a question?
Yeah. So the faculty leaders, they'd both be UNCG faculty, not faculty from some other institution.
Again, it can take a lot of forms. You can have a co-director from an institution. We've had several programs that have collaborated and actually had like 2 different institutions coming together to do these programs. The thing that can get kind of tricky about that, so if you want to have like say someone from Charlotte, for example, come with you, and it would just be you and the Charlotte faculty and then all UNCG students, that wouldn't be as much of a challenge in terms of pricing. But I know with some universities, they have a different pricing structure than we do. So it may be that they're paying their home tuition on top of the program fee that we would be charging. So that can get kind of tricky, but you can definitely get creative with like who you're reaching out to and who you're involving.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other questions?
So we could have, say, a partner at a university in whatever country we're visiting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and using a partner abroad is really great because then you have the additional support of that university. I know we have several programs, like there's a business program that goes to Dublin, and they actually like stay in the University College Dublin dorms, and they use their classroom space, and their faculty give guest lectures. So that can be a really great opportunity for some partnership as well. Mhm. And one thing I didn't mention, but that may come up, is that some of you may be looking at also program providers for your programs. We don't see as many folks using those at UNCG. Definitely not to say that you can't. We do find that sometimes they drive the cost up. And so then it's just kind of a balancing act in terms of kind of the value you're getting, the additional risk management support, the additional logistical support, kind of balancing that against what the cost is to students. But I know we found some faculty working very closely with different providers to offer cost-effective programs to students. So if you're interested in maybe partnering with someone who does this for a living, then we can definitely connect you with that kind of a provider as well. Yeah, we don't work with anyone exclusively as a third-party provider. We have recently signed an agreement with ISA to help with some of our virtual internship offerings and summer partner offerings, but we can definitely give you recommendations for some of the ones that folks have worked with in the past and been happy with. All right. So let's talk about roles and kind of who does what in this grand effort to get our students abroad and to help you with your goals of pursuing these faculty-led programs. So review faculty roles. Of course, one of your primary roles is going to be develop the program, to come up with the ideas and the courses and all of that. To advertise the program, we're happy to give input on that, but you, of course, know your students best and can advertise to your students accordingly. Student recruitment and selection. So inviting students, reviewing their applications, then deciding who you want on your program. Travel documentation, of course, grades, maintaining files, making sure students are registered and answering any questions that are on site. Arranging and paying for housing, meals, excursions, classroom space, etc. And that, of course, is going to be in concert with your departmental administrator. So it's good to get them in on the process very early so that they can help you with those aspects of your program. We at IPC will load the courses for you, but making sure that you have the right course approvals. I know especially in the past couple of years, they have been kind of trimming down our course catalog and which courses are active. So if you are thinking of offering a course that has existed for a long time, maybe just checking in, making sure that it's ready to go. Pre-departure and on-site orientation, so making sure that students have an idea of where they're going and what they can expect. We, of course, at IPC will come in and help with general health and safety information, some cultural information, intercultural information, but also once you get on site, making sure students kind of know where they are, designating an emergency meeting place, and otherwise getting students settled in. Monitoring risks on the site. Of course, we'll be checking the news every day, but you are right there. So it's really helpful for you to also monitor those risks and if need be, reach out to IPC for support or adjust your plans accordingly. On-site advising for students, serving as the point person for on-site emergencies. Again, you're there, so you're the person that is closest to anything that might happen and would be able to help manage that with IPC support, of course. You're also expected to come back and tell us how your trip went, program went, and we'll go through a debrief every time you come back about what went well, what could have been changed, and how IPC can better support your programs. And then, of course, just a reminder that departments do have the fiscal responsibility for your program. So that's what faculty are doing. So what do we do here at IPC? So we definitely help you through that program development process. We have budget templates we can share. We can help you with intercultural pieces that you might want to incorporate into your course, general logistical information, and help you to develop that program plan. Assist in developing your promotional strategy, brainstorm with you about where to put things to recruit students. Offer assistance in maximizing intercultural experiences. receiving and receiving program payments, and that may be shifting a little bit in the days to come, but we'll definitely be in communication with you about how students will pay for those programs. We will develop an online application for you that students can use to apply, and then you can review through our Teradata software that we use. And then, of course, in between when the students apply and when you review them for selection, we do share their information with the Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities, just to make sure that the students don't have any outstanding conduct violations or sanctions that you should know about. If you run into contracts, we can help you with that review process, which sometimes can get a little lengthy. So we can help facilitate that through UNCG Legal and then help with the provost signature process. Usually the contracts that are associated with faculty-led study abroad are signed at the level of the provost, not the department. So we can help with that process. We will work to load your course sections and register your students for you. So we'll take care of that part. We will help you develop and offer pre-departure orientations. Again, talking about health and safety, the insurance that students are enrolled in the program, that you're enrolled in as well, other intercultural pieces and general travel information. Providing that health and accident insurance, and then of course, being your liaison to the study abroad committee. And again, the Study Abroad Committee is a university-wide committee appointed by the provost. It includes faculty and administrators whose mission is to ensure the quality of the university's study abroad programs, and they review new programs and monitor continuing programs as well. So, deadlines for when y'all are ready to submit your program proposals. We do want new proposals about 18 months prior to departure. So if you're thinking of a spring 2023 program, then you would, I know it's always have to do the math, spring 2023 program, then you'd be looking at September 1st for your application deadline. March 15th of this year for next summer. So March 15th, 2021 for summer of 2022, fall break February 1st, winter September 1st, again, of this year for 2023 at this point. Yes, lots of math. Renewing programs, again, once you've gone through the process once, then you shift to the renewal timeline, which is April 1, September 1, November 1, and February 1. All right, and then I will add you all, since I have you I have all of your information, or at least your names, then I can add you into the faculty-led program director's Canvas course. And that is where you're going to find the application, the guidelines for developing a faculty-led program, the faculty-led program director's handbook, which definitely is worth a read through, timelines, other resources, intercultural resources, budget sheets, all sorts of good stuff. And then there are also faculty resources available on the IPC website. And then we also direct you to the U.S. Department of State, the Centers for Disease Control, and GeoBlue Insurance to give you more information about health and safety. All right, so that is the end of my spiel. So I am going to go ahead and open it up for questions. Or if y'all want to talk through anything, yes.
I guess I had a question about what things to look out for in terms of developing programs that would be a sort of a red flag for IPC. I mean, like where they are or
Sure.
their travel restrictions and warnings and things like that. So I'm not really dealing with that part of the world, but if I were to develop a program in Vietnam, for example,
yes,
I guess, are there any factors that would have to be taken into consideration?
Yes. So we typically are looking at a few different things when we look at health and safety for the locations that our students are going to. So one is the U.S. Department of State travel warning, and that's on a system from 1 to 4, 1 being take regular precautions for traveling to that location, all the way up to do not travel, which is at level 4. Obviously, you wouldn't be going to a level 4 country. So most of our countries that students will go to are level 2. There are a couple that might go into the level 3, but it just depends on the program. And so that's one thing that we're looking at. And then also the Geo Blue that I mentioned, that the insurance that you're covered under for the program duration, they actually, through them, we have access to what are called drum CUSAC national like security profiles. And drum CUSAC is actually the insurance that comes and gets you out, basically does evacuation insurance, either political or natural disaster evacuation. So they are constantly monitoring different locations around the world and putting out reports. So they have some pretty comprehensive information about kind of the overall risk of going to a country, and then it breaks it down by transportation, like healthcare, like terrorism, crime, and one more, but I'm forgetting. Oh, Maria, sorry, did you say something?
Did you mention economic crisis?
I think so.
Maybe,
That might be it. Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, but we typically look at those to see kind of what the suggestions are, and then of course would communicate that to you. And another thing, the reason we use kind of those couple of sites, in addition to the CDC as well, especially now, but with those couple of sites, the reason that we use both is because the US Department of State is a US institution, whereas Drum CUSAC is British. So it actually gives you a little bit more of a well-rounded view of health and safety at any given location.
Okay. The program I kind of have in mind actually would be centered in Taiwan. So in terms of health.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
So maybe you want to mention a little bit about developing, we have recently developed a travel policy for international travel, just to guide folks as to where it would be considered safer locations than others. And if individual faculty would like to travel to locations that are not safe to take students, there's certainly a process for them to go. But for student travel, we want to keep it a little bit, there's higher liability for the university. However, Heidi and her team developed a table that kind of shows that all these different things that she talked about, it's on a nice spreadsheet that will be published here very soon. It'll be on our website. We will communicate. We're working on a communication plan so everybody at campus knows. Right now, we have all the countries that faculty have led programs to in the past, but eventually we'll be growing that list to include other locations. And certainly if you're thinking about the location that you can't find on that list to see where it kind of falls, at the moment, then you can reach out to us and we'll definitely be able to help, find out safety-wise. But please keep in mind that these metrics change, right? I mean, we are under COVID and a lot of the locations are number 4 just because of COVID, right? It would be safe to go to these locations at any other point in time. So this is, when we talk about crisis and thinking about locations, they're living, breathing, changing conditions that are happening at any moment, right? So this is one of those that maybe Vietnam is safe today, Taiwan definitely, but next summer maybe something happens, so we would not be able to send students there, right? So we will be communicating clearly when all of that is on our website, so you can go and see what has been done in the past and where it stands right now.
Other questions?
I guess one elephant in the room, or my room at least, is how can you share your perspective on how COVID has impacted programs that were supposed to be happening over the past year? And is there any way to, develop a mitigation plan if you want to put in and develop a program in the near future? Do we do you see things getting back to normal by the time a proposal developed this March would actually happen?
I can take that one.
Okay, thank you.
What a year this last year has been for everybody really involved, right? I mean, everybody has just suffered. For purposes of international travel, it's even more complicated. We have been operating, we start planning ahead and we think about, okay, hopefully in 10 months from now, in 18 months from now, things are going to be fine and we can take students out. But things change along the way. I mean, there was some optimism a few years ago and all of a sudden we have new, variants of COVID. And so like all of a sudden there's struggles again. We have not sent any students out for the last year. And in that sense, like our operations are suffering. Our students really want to go. Our faculty are eager to do them, but we can't feel confident to send students out. For faculty-led programs that are a group, going together, it adds the extra difficulty of, keeping your distance, 6 feet apart, not congregating, like those kinds of things that we started, and Becky is an example of this. Faculty started working on this in the fall, and we kept saying, we're hopeful, things might change by the summer. Maybe these vaccinations are gonna be out quickly, all of that. Well, yesterday, and I'll be communicating soon, we are making the decision that we cannot run these programs in the summer because what we see today and before faculty start paying, and making arrangements and students putting money down, like all this financial liability is in place, then we are making decisions now in January. And this is the same in the UNC system. Some other partners have already made, some other universities have already made their decisions. Some of them are making their decisions soon as to whether they're allowing travel, faculty-led travel for the summer. So it's a complicated answer. It's not something that we can make a decision. I don't want to be making a decision today for the summer of 22, right? I want to go as close as I can to that, to a reasonable amount of time to allow, to remove rather the liability from any perspective. And then, from us, we want to make sure that when you are taking the students out, you are covered too in terms of liability. And so it's not you making the final decision as to whether you're taking that group out, right? And we haven't followed the protocol here on campus. And, it puts an individual into trouble. Add to that, there's a UNC system ban on travel, right? I mean, we're not supposed to be traveling any approved travel for the university, not even outside the state of North Carolina. 50 miles is what they're telling us, right? So, so there's all those kind of added difficulties. And that was a long way of just kind of giving you, but those are the kinds of things that we think about as we're trying to make decisions. And it's, the timing can be difficult and it can be frustrating. It can be, it just difficult for everybody around. But for this summer, we have made the decision we're not going to run any group programs this summer because it just doesn't make any sense right now from what we see right now. And I see, Becky, you want to jump in?
I was going to say, if you don't mind, I have just a few things to offer from our experience.
Absolutely.
This planning period. I think what helped a lot was we told our students up front as we were recruiting that if for whatever reason the program would be canceled, we would look for a way to streamline the application process for them to go the following summer. And we encouraged them, like, we have some prerequisites for our program. So we said, stay in your prereq classes, just continue to prepare as you normally would, with the assumption that unless something, unless your academic performance drastically changes, you're on the fast track to go the following summer as soon as that program opens, because they invest a lot of time into it as well. And I think the other thing that we try to do in the design period was to make sure that we had alternate activities for almost everything that we were doing. So our program is very outdoors heavy, and I think as a biologist, I'm sure that's going to be the case for you as well. So we didn't have to worry too much. But there were a couple of spaces we were planning on visiting that we just nixed from. So like we weren't planning on going into any catacombs, any underground spaces where our students were going to be very close together. So we had to make just had some kind of like B-roll ready to go. Like, what else could we do just in case the situation became unsafe? And so I think it was more just a matter of, planning for having all of those levels of planning, but more than anything, just giving the students the sense that if it didn't work out this time around, that all of their sort of planning and efforts weren't in vain, that there was another opportunity and that you would consider them first. I think that went a long way with our students.
Thank you for offering that, Becky, because I think that's best practice regardless of what time we're in. The thing that Heidi talked about at the beginning, there's things that we cannot control. And so students knowing from the very beginning that there might be things that we cannot control, or the program needs to change depending on what's happening, it's really important that they know that upfront. And we have it in our paperwork for the students, and I'm glad to hear the faculty are communicating that directly to the students as well.
Mm-hmm. And then also in addition to being able to like fast track students and this can even be kind of not only like a byproduct of something like COVID, but also if you have a minimum number of 10 students and you only recruit 7, then your program might not be able to run. So whatever kind of the situation is, if students, I know graduation sometimes can be a concern, like, oh, I'm graduating, this is my last chance to go abroad. And really what we do to try to mitigate some of those concerns is that we do allow faculty to invite UNCG alums and non-UNCG students on their programs. And basically it's the same process, except that the student would apply to be a visiting student through UNCG admissions or the graduate school, depending on a couple of factors, but they could still participate in the program and it would be pretty much the same except with that additional visiting student status. So we try to be flexible in that as well.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Sure.
I've never done this before.
Yeah.
Because we're considering a program for summer 2022, and you said the deadline for that will be March 15. How involved is the initial proposal process? And that's the first question. The second question relates to the U.S. State Department classification. Like I just looked up two of the countries that we're planning to visit, and right now they're listed as level 3, which is reconsider travel, and it's not all because of COVID; it's because of other situations.
Right.
So is it wise at this point, and I know things change and classifications change and all of that, but how wise is it to go ahead with the program planning at this point? Or like what are some mitigating things that we need to consider because they're classified in a certain way?
Mm-hmm. I know, and you were going to, it was Ethiopia and Tanzania?
Yes.
Correct? Okay. So with that, I do know a lot of because I think I actually looked at those 2 State Department warnings quite recently, and a lot of them have to do with certain areas within Tanzania. So they've tried to get a bit more granular with the State Department and how they approach giving these travel advisories, because it used to be just like either there's a warning or there's not, and it was just like an on-off switch. But now they have looked a little bit more into the nuance of that, and like some regions are like do not travel here, but the rest of the country is a level 2. Like it just kind of depends, and sometimes they'll break that down even further. But with that, definitely keeping an eye on those State Department warnings. We can go ahead and look and see kind of according to our matrix that we're using that hopefully will be published soon, to see kind of what the kind of go no-go points are, and see if there's any where risk can be mitigated, or if it's something that is kind of a hard sticking point to figure out whether or not those locations would be appropriate for student travel. But I feel like the process of planning and applying for a program, it is a 2-page application with several attachments is the core of the application. We ask for a budget, we ask for dates, we ask for your minimum, maximum, and optimum number of students. We ask for syllabi, program statement of intention, and some other like CVs for any non-UNCG faculty and some other supporting documentation. But that's the bulk of the application. And if your application were to be approved, and we know that a year and a half in advance you may not have every single detail, but having kind of a good outline of what you're planning to do, where you're planning to go, what you're hoping to accomplish with your program, and the program were not to run the next summer, then you would be in that renewal cycle, so it would be a little bit less time intensive, if that helps at all. Does that answer the question?
Just a quick follow-up to that.
Sure.
Is there a maximum number of faculty that can be part of this group? If we're planning to take, like, let's say 4 faculty members, is there like a cap on that? And in terms of recruitment, these are the type of programs that have to be available to everyone across the board, or is there, like, there's ways to ask for prerequisite, like specific classes, right?
Yes, so you would, as the program director, set what the requirements are for your particular program. If you have a GPA requirement beyond the IPC recommendation of 2.75, that's our kind of typical recommendation for study abroad. But if you want to require a 3.0, or they have to have taken class X, Y, or Z, or they have to have some type of experience with the AADS department, then you can put those in the application and use those in your selection criteria. In terms of the number of faculty, we do recommend having 2 program directors, but with faculty, I don't think there's a cap on how many can go. I think you'd want to think through what their roles might be, and then also what the compensation levels would be. For these particular programs, traditionally, faculty have worked with their department to set their compensation levels, because there's not a tuition that's attached to the course, and therefore you wouldn't get 1/12 of your annual salary per credit hour, however, or per 3 credit hours, however that would work if you were teaching a traditional summer course. So this would be a stipend that you would agree upon with your faculty or with your department that would seem a reasonable amount, and then that cost does get passed on to the students. So that's where it can start to get prohibitively expensive for folks. If you say you have 4 faculty and they're each taking a $10,000 stipend, then that's $40,000 that already is being passed on to students. So that's one thing. But of course, we do want you as faculty to have compensation for your time, and so we usually recommend keeping it right around what it would be for your summer course load. So like 1/12 per 3 credit hours, I think.
Yeah, I want to kind of emphasize the first point that Heidi made about the role of each person in this program. It's important for the success of the program and the students understanding who's responsible for what, maybe somebody's teaching, maybe somebody's managing logistics, maybe you're both teaching, what parts of it. I mean, I think that's the clear division of labor for faculty is really crucial for a program to succeed. And Becky, you've run programs before with faculty, with other faculty. So I think, I hope you agree with that. This has been my experience, that if you've got a lot of people running the program and you don't have clear responsibilities and everybody knows, then it can get really bad. So think about what is, and then of course your number of students. If the minimum number of your students is 10 and you've got 3 faculty members in there, I mean, the proportion just doesn't seem, to be supporting the numbers that you're looking at in terms of your group, or even smaller. Some groups run with 8 students, and then having more than 2 faculty members could be, cost prohibitive, but also just the roles and responsibilities. That's a great question, because it's good to have somebody else. Like we said, the minimum that we recommend best practices is 2, not just 1 person, but that's a good question about maximum. Those are really great questions. And I have to tell you, I'm sitting through this today because, this is my first time, looking at the whole process for faculty-led programs here on this campus. I started in July. So, and there was no session back then. And, Heidi has everything under control, but I'm learning along the way. So listening to your questions kind of helps me. And I have questions for Heidi when we're done.
Yeah, so any other questions? Do y'all want a quick tour of the study abroad Canvas site? Faculty Led Canvas site? All right, let me go ahead and pull that up. Actually, I already have it pulled up. There we go. All right, so I will add all of you to this Canvas site once we conclude our meeting. All right, thank you very much. So we do have some announcements section. For you all, this will probably be the most relevant portion of the program for right now. And that is the program renewal and new program application information. So you'll be able to see the application, a draft letter for your department to write about their support, a budget worksheet that'll help you put together your budget, honors credit application template, if you are interested in having your program considered for an honors designation, because honors students are required to study abroad for the Lloyd International Honors College, the kind of undergrad honors. And so that can be a really good recruitment tool, as well as enriching the program as well. And then there's actually information for how to request markers for your courses that may change, of course, with the new curriculum. But that's kind of where you're going to find yourself first to look through those different resources. And then handbooks, we do include a faculty-led program timeline, which gives you a real quick at a glance to see when you should be doing certain things within that process. The guidelines for developing faculty-led is kind of like the quick start guide for getting started. And then the faculty-led program director handbook is kind of the more deep program policies, engaging type of read. And then have important forms down here, different forms that you might need, some information. So once you actually propose your program and we're in the process of building out your application, we do use a software called Teradata, which is notoriously not very user-friendly. So I've created a number of different videos to basically walk you through how to use that software. Some faculty training, so there are some recordings like the one that we're making today, workshop presentations, risk management presentations. I think that one is pre-COVID, so I'll be putting more information up there soon. Risk Management Reimagined is the post-COVID risk management course, so that would be something to watch, especially if you're interested in learning more. And then there are some other recordings and different handouts from sessions we've had in the past, additional resources, budget resources, intercultural learning resources. So if you're looking at ways to increase the intercultural value of your courses or different activities you can do, there are resources for that, risk management, and then some virtual learning resources that we're developing as well. And I will add you all to this particular course. And as I said, I know we were asked about kind of what is the application look like. The form is pretty straightforward. Of course, there's a lot of work that goes into everything behind this form, but we've got title, your information, academic options, enrollment information, logistics, and then a number of attachments that you'll want to include. All right.
Hey, Heidi,
Yes.
you said there's a form for filling out for honors. Is there anything special to fill out for service learning courses?
For service learning, that's a great question. I believe there may be some paperwork. I would have to double check as to what that looks like, because I know that Office of Leadership and Civic Engagement used to be Office of Leadership and Service Learning, so I'm not sure where that process, like how that process works with the shift. I think they are still managing that. So that's a great point, and I will write that down actually, so that I can get that into that form as well. Thank you. Other questions? All right. Well, I know that some of you have to get to class. It's 3:13, so we can wrap up a few minutes early so y'all have time to go about the rest of your day. If you have any questions, I'm happy to stay on. But other than that, I will send out the PowerPoint for you in PDF form, and I will also add you all to the Canvas Director course so that you can have access to all that information.
Thank you
Thank
the
you for
introduction.
coming by. Hope your enchiladas are great, Gwen.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Eddie, I had another question.
Oh yeah.
Well, I have like 100.
Okay.
Can you and I set up a time? Because Anne's done. I mean, she's there
Right.
to ask her questions, but there's no more co-teaching. It's so
Right.
the way it's
Okay.
gonna work, we haven't finalized it yet, but it'll be probably my faculty advisor,
Okay.
Turi. He'll probably be the like instructor of record, but I'll be the one actually teaching the course. And
Okay.
I'm not sure how, like, we need to figure out logistics because I don't know. We don't know if a PhD student can lead an international program,
Right.
or
Right.
if another faculty has to be there. Like, we're not sure. So
Okay.
that's a lot of stuff that we
Yeah.
need to figure out anyway. But it's not going to be Anne. She's. I mean, I'm taking over that.
Right.
It's just a matter of
Okay.
who needs to sign stuff, because I may not be
Okay.
able to as a PhD student.
Okay.
But all the course logistics are going to be me.
Okay.
So like working with you and doing all that stuff is all gonna be, from what I've been told, is going to be me. So
Okay.
can we set up
Sure.
about all of that stuff? Because I don't want to miss anything. I think it's just probably be a renewal, right? Not a new program.
Yes, it would be a renewal.
Okay. I don't want to miss anything. And since I know so many things have changed and Anne had her own way of doing things, and I know was a little difficult sometimes, I want to make sure that I want to start fresh. Like whatever you want us to do, I want to make sure I'm doing that. I don't want to miss anything because you guys are there to make it easier for us, not to do all that stuff that Amy
Right.
has to do. So I want to take advantage of you.
Okay. Well, perfect. That's what I'm here for.
So yeah, I'd love to set